In common wave theory in music, there is also a phenomenon of having different wavelengths on the same string, registering different compression patterns of space depending where you are on the string. String theory encompasses this concept, making up the different forces and what can turn into matter. The fabric of the cosmos has millions of different permutations and vibrating qualities that make up the fundamental forces of the universe. After vibrating into existence, matter then hardens into what we can see and feel. In the case of string instrument, the top and bottom part near the node moves differently and pressurizes the air differently than the middle part of the string, which moves with a greater freedom and hence pressurizes the aether in a greater way. The total of all the different wavelengths vibrating on the one string would be what is registered when played to a tuner or other capturing device. For the purpose of this example, registering at 440 hertz for an A note. Even though there are multiple readings depending on where your focal point is located on the string, the tuner, our ear, and any other device could pick up just the one reading. This concept and application in string theory, on which one string has multiple wavelengths and frequencies, makes the understanding of elementary matter constituents more difficult and not as clear of a theory. It reflects what I believe will be observed in experiment in the future of string theory as having multiple frequencies on just one string. The vibrations that are sensed within the human experience can be divided up in one of 12 notes of a musical scale, but operate as a continuum with many points between the discrete 12 notes. All the points can be divided and named by the metric hertz, which dictates cycles per second. There is a superset of primary vibrations, like the primary colors, in which all colors are derived from. The idea of subclasses and subpoints are crucial in grand unifying theory, Big Bang, steady-state theory, and areas of science that stems from all coming from one point of unity or singularity. There could also be a natural frequency to grand unification, similar innate frequencies that adopt common vibrations that make up gravity, time, and mass. Just like colors and sound, my hypothesis is that all other waves on the electromagnetic spectrum have unification points in which the fundamental forces are created. If we can unite the fundamental forces in the form of superstrings, being a set of different vibrations, we can create a grand unified theory of the universe. Superstring theory offers many interesting ways to diagnose and display a correlation between classical mechanics and quantum mechanics. The postulate that everything can be described by a decryption of space using vibrations with different wavelengths and frequencies, outlining the four fundamental forces in which are intertwined with the connection of vibrations, is appealing and palatable for not only mathematicians but to the theorists and musicians alike. These assertions allows us to look, compare, and quantify different vibrations to explain everything that is within the human experience. Dimensionality of space, hypercube projections, and multidimensional analysis allows mathematicians to have access to a possibility of 26 dimensions, rather than staying in the 3 dimensions of space and one of time that classical physics is based upon. It is a set of concepts that enters into a great unknown and ushers in a new brand of ideas that of which are more avant-garde. These extra dimensions are in our 3-dimensional space, but are not yet able to be detected at particle accelerators. The hidden dimensions most likely are not tactile in nature, but are only accessible by means of some sort of energy. The mathematics has already adjusted for extra dimensions. It could be an exciting new field to explore with the existence of multiple dimensionality in the universe. This concept of multiple dimensionality allows mathematicians to describe not only the 3-dimensional landscape of XYZ, but PQR if it exists. This dimensionality of space cannot be proven yet upon experiment, but physicists are still trying to search for evidence of its existence. If one would consider the possibility of mass and energy as being initiated as dimensions, with other massive dimensions curled up as vibrational strands that come in and out of existence at laboratories like CERN and Fermilab, then the concept of higher dimensions is a palatable and logical continuance of space and time and the fundamental forces. It is interesting that in the Maclaurin and Taylor series, there is a mathematical representation that links cosine, sine, pi, and e to the x in a magical order representing a special order in the universe. Also, Euler's formula, e to the I to the pi power equals a -1, which is also an intriguing formula bringing together some intriguing concepts. Although, on the outset, these theories of relating concepts to superstring theory and mass creation to our observable universe seem to be ad hoc. However, there must be a hidden grand unifying theory, a set of equations for sets of vibrations that are on minuscule and large orders of magnitude, explanations of the universe and all of the mass and light within it. It is not proven, but one of my beliefs is the financial computing interest constant E plays a role in mass creation. In this relationship, the constant e to the x through tiny vibrations of superstrings looking across massive expanses of nature, of matter, is one of the common unification structures of the cosmos. The concept of pi also has deeper meaning. I'm a firm believer that a more logical constant should indeed be instead tau, which is 2 pi. Tau is a representation of a full circle instead of a half circle of pi. It could be part of the representation of all of circular growth on Earth and in space. These concepts, I believe but cannot prove, make up some of the constants that shape the galaxies and planetary bodies from the very large to the very small. My hypothesis is that in accordance with e to the x representing the creation component, velocity, with the similar components pi, x, x squared, x cubed, and x to the fourth, which could represent spatial dimensions as mass creative components that outline and are multiples of the world we live in. Facilitating a link to the 3 spatial dimensions and one of time, in an early creation period, an additional a squared, a cubed, a to the fourth could be used instead of c squared to explain the outer motion of the cosmos, scale factor, and expansion of space. A refute to this concept would be that not all of matter or bodies have those numerical values in them. However, my retort would be that statement is true, but just like there are different interest rates, periods of borrowing, present and future values, all of those variables have a relationship with a constant e to get a different figure or value. The same can hold true of having different variable components that have some sort of a relationship with the constant e and pi that builds matter and light. These constants, derivatives, and coefficients working with these invariants in the mathematical constructs could be a connection to a larger universe, giving rise to the cosmos, planetary bodies, and quantum mechanics. In the description of a wave function as it relates to wave-particle duality, the letter I will now regard as tau equals 2 pi is how we confront the idea of circular object. It is the internal representation of a circular-oriented conceptual idea like the one of an atom. The sine and cosine functions represent the wave aspect of the particle and gives its oscillatory motion but not magnitude. This creates the thought of symmetry in the mixture of these concepts, deducing angles within them. It describes a photon with packets of quanta of light exhibiting characteristics of a particle, and can also be considered a wave that can be seen popping in and out of existence, like the ones that are detected at multiple particle accelerators. The variables, coefficients, and constants of these interactions are used to describe the nature of matter.